Ah, the Nintendo 64. The chunky controller, the foggy textures, the weird obsession with platformers featuring talking animals. We all remember the legends like the Mario 64, the Ocarinas of Time, GoldenEye, but today we're talking about some of the underdogs. The games that really didn't get their time in the sun and often aren't considered in Windows top 10 lists. The games that you let your cousin borrow because nobody else wanted to play them, although for me it was the other way around. Some were overshadowed by the bigger titles, and some were just a little too weird for mainstream, and well, some of them just needed more polish. But one thing's for sure, they all had something special. So I'm going to be looking at some of the hidden gems for the Nintendo 64. If you do like this video and believe I've earned it, please hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell to be notified of our next video. It's a small thing from you guys, but for me it just means so much and I'll be so grateful. If you want to support the show financially, you can do it at patreon.com/retrowars, where you can get involved in the weekly podcast, join our community, the Smut Squad, and receive your own additional podcast every week. But let's look at 7 examples of hidden gems on Nintendo 64. Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. Now, this game is what happens when someone takes Zelda, sprinkles in Little Mario 64, and then chugs an entire bottle of wasabi before designing the story. So you play as Goemon, a blue-haired ninja with a pipe. Yes, his weapon is a literal pipe, on a mission to stop aliens who are turning Edo Castle into a giant stage musical. No, I'm not making that up. It's one of the weirdest plots I've ever seen in a video game. In fact, spoiler, but when you complete the game, you get the local girls attacking you because they're really pissed off for what you've done because they liked it being what it was. You've got townsfolk that look like they belong in a Picasso painting, there's a giant clockwork castle appearing out of nowhere, and a storyline that makes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure look like a history textbook. And guess what happens when you die? Yes, you get hula hooping devil men. It's just bonkers. One minute you're sneaking through a haunted house, and the next you're battling a giant robot that sings while it fights. Yeah, the robot's amazing. The bosses in this game are so weird, they make Banjo-Kazooie look normal. Now, let's just talk about the combat. You get your basic melee attack, but soon you'll be upgrading your weapons, and then there's summoning giant mechs and pulling off some of the most absurd special moves ever seen in a video game. Like, even you can go Super Saiyan. Yes, Goemon can go Super Saiyan. For me, this game is an absolute classic and one of my favourites on Nintendo 64, and nobody really talks about it because you've got Mario and Zelda. Like, I played this a lot as a kid because I was in that situation where my cousin lent me it because he got it from America. It's a very, very big introduction to what Eastern culture is compared to the West, and I think for a lot of people, they weren't prepared for it because it is so in your face. And to be honest, I don't think even the people making the game are ready for it because the translation's not right. So they've got a laugh track which suddenly laughs at random points, and you're like, I don't think that was meant to be in there. It was so in your face with what is established like in that sort of world. Like Ibisumaru, Goemon's friend, would often run around in his underpants and would try and get things for free if he dances in them. That's not something that was seen in the West at the time, but for that sort of style, the anime manga sort of thing, that was the kind of thing. So people are like, what the hell is going on? The game even features, as I mentioned, a giant mech called Goemon Impact, and he's a legend. You'd often do a multiplayer game to work out how many projectiles you'd have, and then you get into the main battle, which switches to a first-person view, and you're in the robot kicking everyone's ass, and often you have like a hook shot, you try and bring someone in, and then do a combo and kick their ass. It was amazing, and the fact he had his own theme music which you had to go through twice Power Ranger style was so good, because remember kids, Power Rangers was from Japan first. Okay, I'm done. But I'm not done with Mystical Ninja, because I'm going to talk about the second one. So the first game is weird, with an open world 3D action adventure, but for the sequel Konami said, yeah, let's go back to 2D platforming, and weirdly enough it worked really well. So this is akin more to the Super Nintendo game, where it was 2D. Now I rented this game out a lot and couldn't finish it, and out of all the games on this list we're going to hear today, this one holds up the most. This time Goemon and his squad return for another adventure, but the gameplay is a lot tighter, the co-op is chaotic, and the levels are brutally difficult. Like, it is hard. And this also has co-op, so now you and a friend can experience the madness together. Just be prepared for rage quitting when one of you accidentally scrolls the screen too far and kills the other. Yeah, that happens. The giant mech battles are back, But what's a ninja adventure without piloting a massive steampunk samurai to punch evil in the face? This game is extremely difficult. I got a big shock when I played this and me and my brother are unable to finish it. I would like to try it again as an adult to see how I can do, because I really want to cover it for the podcast one day. But let's move our attention to Quest 64, the RPG we got instead of Final Fantasy. So once upon a time, N64 players dreamed of a great RPG, something to rival Final Fantasy because that had sadly been lost to Sony, something to immerse themselves in a world of magic and wonder. And what did we get? Quest 64. Now this game had so much potential. The combat system was unique, it was magic based instead of weapons with 4 elemental trees to level up. The movement in battle was strategic, letting you dodge attacks in real time, and the world was colourful and full of potential. But there's just one problem. It's barely any story. So your dad goes missing and Brian sets out to find him, and he meets 3 characters along the way and just keeps fighting generic monsters in endless battles. But seriously, a wizard called Brian. Who decides their main character is going to be called Brian? Did he even have names like Brian at the time? And as I was ranting this in the car, my wife just suddenly went, "Life of Brian," and I went, "Ah, shit. Okay, you've got me there. Fine. Shut up." And the difficulty for this game? Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Like, imagine getting halfway through the game realising you leveled up the wrong magic tree and now you're doomed. Yeah, good luck with that. Still, it was the only RPG of its kind on the N64, so we had to kinda love it, even if it hurt us. So this game is considered Marmite. You either love it, or you absolutely hate it. I don't like Marmite personally. I had to lick it once off a guy's arm. Don't ask, that's a story for another time. Whatever you're thinking, no. But the Quest 64 love is still kept alive by the official Quest 64 Twitter page, who post almost daily about Quest 64. And no, yeah, of course, me and him are friends on Twitter. He's probably going to be seeing this and wondering what I'm doing. I'm not paying you, you're not paying me, and don't do me any Marmite. Let's move on to a bit of racing, shall we? Snowboard kids. Okay, picture this. It's Mario Kart, but instead of karts, you have tiny children with freakishly large noses shredding down the slopes. That's Snowboard Kids. This game, I've mentioned before, is criminally underrated. It's got power-ups, crazy tricks, and an announcer who just sounds a little too excited when you get hit by a snowball. And the best part? You have to take a ski lift back up after every race. Yes, this is realism, people. And I'll tell you what, that ski lift can go stick something up its bum. Because you could be winning, and all of a sudden, if you don't get the positioning right, you can go from first to last extremely quickly, because it's only one person on a ski lift. Safety first, people. Like, it's absolute chaos. Like, you can lose friends just like Mario Kart. You imagine, the blue shell? Everyone hates the blue shell. Well, imagine getting hit by a rock right before the finish line, just go doof and tripping over one. Freaking hate it. Also, you can't use the ninja. If you've unlocked Shadowman, you can't use Shadowman. He's too good. Alright? But it's fun, it's fast, and deserves way more love. Like, seriously, where's Snowboard Kids 3? Well, okay, there was actually a DS game, but they got rid of the big noses. And I even played Snowboard Kids 2 because I could never find it in England. Did anyone see Snowboard Kids 2 in England? Let me know. But now let's just get some more frustration out the way. Vigilante 8. This is the car combat game that lets you blow up a school bus. Now, my best friend Alan had this growing up, and he constantly pushed this game on me. Like, imagine if Twisted Metal and Smokey the Bandit had a love child. This would be Vigilante 8. This is like Death Race without the racing, but it's just pure car combat with explosions, insane weapons, a lot of destruction. But what sets this game apart? What's the vibe? But nothing says more hidden gem like a weaponized school bus. And to be fair, my old 1998 Toyota Corolla would be king. That's not a hint to how old I am. I had a Toyota Corolla when I first moved to Australia, and I absolutely loved it. It was called Boss, and I love that thing. Oh, rest in peace, Boss. And did I mention this game has UFOs? Well, because it's a UFO. If you play your cards right, it will abduct other players mid-battle. That's what we call tactical advantage. Hopefully, that's all they do. And there's no of the, probing. Hopefully that doesn't happen. This game did have so much style. Like, the levels were destructible, the weapons ridiculous, and the multiplayer was chaos. If you've never played the game, honestly, go fix it. Like, sadly, we don't get many games like this, and the series Vigilante 8 has kind of been dead since 2008, but it'd be great to see a revival, like on modern day, maybe like a Fortnite-esque game. Let's go to a little bit darker, shall we? Shadowman. Now, again, this was one that Al had. I don't know how Al always had these games. Like, you think Majora's Mask was dark? Resident Evil was scary? Nah, you ain't played Shadowman. You play as Michael Leroy. See, that's a better name than Brian. Sorry, Quest 64, but that's such a better name. He's a man who can travel between the real world and Deadside, basically the Nightmare Realm, because this was based off an original comic book series. Your goal? Stop a serial killer cult from literally bringing hell to Earth. It's fine, isn't it? The game is brutal, the enemies are terrifying, and the levels feel like they're designed by someone who was probably using too many narcotics at the time. And the whole thing feels like you're trapped in a fever dream you just can't wake up from. Well, the power-ups, they're not just new weapons, they're voodoo artifacts. Want to shoot fire out of your hands? Use the flambeo. Want to walk on lava? Get the asylum gate key. Want to fully embrace the darkness? Yeah, that's a thing too. Although it makes you think with using voodoo items, is that going to be allowed these days? Someone's going to complain. This game was ahead of its time, and the atmosphere is oppressive, the voice acting is incredible, and the soundtrack makes you feel like it's someone who's always watching you. If you love horror and never played Shadowman, you owe it to yourself to check it out. Yes, there was a second one, and the original game was remastered, and a new game apparently is in the works. And finally, we've got Castlevania Legacy of Darkness, the one that fixed everything. See, Castle 64 tried. It tried so hard. But Legacy of Darkness, this is where it got it right. The game gives you multiple playable characters, each with a unique story. You can play as Cornell, a werewolf knight, which is just so cool, a mission to save his sister, or Henry, a dude with a gun who just doesn't have time for Dracula's nonsense, although that really seems like he's cheating with a gun. And of course, you can play as Reinhardt and Carrie from the original Castlevania 64, but now they actually feel good. Being a werewolf, you can just slash through enemies with fun. Henry's gun, well, that just makes every problem disappear. It really would with a gun, that's just cheating. And unlike Castle 64, this game fixed the janky platforming. Like, you're still gonna die, but this time it's your fault, not the camera's. This game doesn't get the respect it deserves, mainly because of Symphony of the Night and how big that game is. Legacy of Darkness, though, wasn't just a re-release, it was actually just a better version of Castlevania 64, with new characters, improved controls, and extra replay value. If you ever gave up on the N64 Castlevania games, go back and just give this a chance. And that's it. There's some 7 gems of the N64 I absolutely love. They had its legends, sure, but these games, they were just the soul of the system. The weird, janky, chaotic soul. But if you missed out on them, go fix that now. And that's it. I'll see you all in a few days for another list video. Until then, my name's been Danny, you take care of yourself, bye bye.